Hello everyone, welcome back to another video with On Point Politics, and today I'm going to be doing my latest forecast for the 2024 presidential election. Make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and make sure to go ahead and follow the Twitter and join the Discord server in the description down below. And so we clearly see my election model has Donald Trump up 2.9 percentage points in the RCP aggregate. Biden's approval rating is minus 16. We go down here. Donald Trump is currently ahead of Joe Biden 3.2 percentage points in favorability, which gives us the results over here, as well as gives us some results on this side of the equation. And we basically put both models together, and it gives us an electoral college scenario right over here where the final margins are displayed. And essentially, what every single state does is it basically tracks the polling average, the demographic pool, which is basically calculated by myself. I basically plug in what demographics do I think are going to happen, and usually it's based off of polling data and things like that. We also have the 2016 result, the 2020 result, and it accounts for the swing and the trend. Now, this model was tested back to 2020, and certain things have been applied to make sure that it is as accurate as possible. There's a certain number that the swing is essentially multiplied by in order to get the most accurate result. And down here, this model, this part of the model is from Gold Crown Politics. He essentially was able to predict the entire election last time 100% correct. And because of that, we are able to go ahead and now project what ends up happening in the Electoral College as of right now. And so all of these results over here, all of these results over here average out to get the final results over here, and we're going to be going state by state and basically analyzing what happened. So the first state here is going to be Idaho. This state, is a red ruby state. It is projected to be around a 40-point victory as of right now. Currently, it was a 31 percentage point victory in the previous cycle. Utah in this election was decided by around 21 percentage points. My current forecast has that state at an 8, has it as a 31 percentage point victory. So clearly Donald Trump gains there. In the state of Montana, which an important Senate race is occurring with John Tester as the incumbent the incumbent Democrat, Donald Trump won that race by 16 points, and my current forecast has the election at a 25-point victory, so I doubt Tester's going to be able to make it across the finish line there. We have the state of Wyoming, which is a huge victory for Donald Trump. He won that by 45 percentage points. My current forecast has that as a 53 percentage point victory as of right now. We see North Dakota, clearly a 34 percentage point victory. It's going to be safe. My current forecast right now has it as a 44 percentage point victory, which is a very significant margin of victory. If we go to South Dakota, we're going to see a 26-point win from 2020. My current forecast has this as a 35 percentage point victory for Donald Trump. So in all of these red states, you see Donald Trump makes huge gains. In Nebraska, he's going to gain quite extensively here. He won Nebraska by 19 points in 2020. Right now, the at-large vote in Nebraska is around a 26-point victory there. So clearly, Donald Trump is massively improving in that state as of right now. Even the 3rd congressional district is a way bigger margin this cycle. Kansas, in the last cycle, was a likely margin. You can see around 15-point victories here. And we see, as of right now, in my latest forecast, the state of Kansas is projected to be a 22 percentage point victory. You notice that all these states do not move by the exact same margin to the right. That is because some states are trending to the left. Some have a lower elasticity score, which is something that I calculated. Basically, it kind of tracks how prone a state is to shifting a ridiculous amount. It says Kansas elasticity score is pretty low. You're not really seeing a lot of huge shifts in the state of Kansas. Oklahoma, if we look at this 34-point victory last time around, state of Oklahoma is a 41 percentage point win in this forecast. Missouri is another state here around a 15.5-point victory. That state's going to be over a 20-point margin. It is a 25-point victory for the former president. Arkansas, we're going to come down here. It's around a 28-point win for the former president. in 2020. In this projection, he's actually winning it by 37, so he does make pretty good gains there. In Louisiana, he's winning that pretty easily. He is currently winning Louisiana by 29 percentage points. This state, if I'm not mistaken, was around 18 points last time around. Mississippi, 16-point victory last election. If we go to Mississippi, we'll see it's around a 29-point victory. So he's actually making really big gains in Mississippi. This is mainly because there's a large African American population here. And so with Mississippi, it's quite interesting because since African Americans are going to shift heavy to the right this cycle, it is going to trend further to the right this time than most of these other states usually do. If you go to Alabama, we will see that this state was a 25-point victory in the last election. Alabama right now is a 35-point win. So essentially it shifts with the nation to the right. Tennessee, as of right now, is also going to be a pretty large victory, 24 points in 2020. If we go down here, it is classified as a 33-point win. Kentucky, another big Republican state that used to be formerly Democrat, now a 26-point win last time around. We go to Kentucky right now, 34-point win, so it doesn't shift as much with the nation. Indiana, we will currently see that it is a 16-point win last time. Same thing as Mississippi. Right now, it is a 26-point victory, so basically shifts sort of with the nation. If we look at West Virginia, this is going to be an interesting one. 40-point win here. West Virginia right now is currently listed as a 48-point victory for Donald Trump. That gets him to 113. Now, Alaska was a 10-point victory last time around. We will see Alaska is actually forecasted as an 18-point win. So there is a huge shift there from 2020. You're already noticing a lot of the red states are shifting to the right by quite a bit. This is because the national environment is actually pretty Republican. We have this environment being 7.5 percentage points for Donald Trump. We use the third party aggregate. So essentially, all of the polling averages and everything, all the data we use includes the third party candidates. Donald Trump's projected to get 76 million votes. Joe Biden is projected to get 65 million. So you will expect a red wave map this time around. And we will start going to the deep Democrat states. California is going to be definitely a decent win for Biden, but a lot lower than his 30-point victory we see here. He's only going to win it by about 15. So his margin essentially gets cut down in half. And the state of California does kind of trend to the right to an extent. It probably trends about 3 points to the right. Oregon, 16-point victory, and we will see that that's not going to even be a safe state. It'll be a likely Democrat state this time around. We will see in my latest forecast, the model has it as a 6-point win. Again, large African American population. Same thing in Washington, 19-point win. Right now it's only classified as an 8-point win, also a likely margin. There's going to be a huge shift with the African American population to the right, so that's why you're seeing a lot of these shifts in the left, basically the West Coast. However, the white vote is not shifting enough to make these, within a couple points. Same thing in California. The white vote's kind of trending to the left a tiny bit. And so that's why these states are basically still safe and likely. If the white vote shifted with the rest of the demographics, these states would actually be semi-competitive this time around. If we go to Hawaii, we'll actually see this was a 30-point victory last time. My forecast only has it as a 13.8 percentage point victory for Biden. So Hawaii does vote under 15 points. You did have the Maui fires kind of occur here. Biden's approval rating did dip, but this state is way too Democrat for it to be even somewhat competitive on the presidential level. It's definitely going to be a lot closer, but not to the extent that people want it to be. The state of Texas is interesting because this state, was around a 5.5-point victory, but my forecast currently has the state as around a 18 percentage point victory. And you may say, how is that even possible? Well, if we were to actually get every single county and shift this, you're actually going to see 18 points. This is roughly what you would have to see. A lot of the city areas would essentially have to trend right. Harris County would flip. Tarrant, Collin would essentially flip. You'd have a lot of the border counties essentially flip back to Republicans, and that actually cuts Biden's popular vote lead down to about a point. So that is something significant to talk about. Shifting that state to the right by that much literally cut down the popular vote margin by a whole entire percentage point. But you see Donald Trump is gaining in the Hispanic counties in the southern border by quite a bit, and arguably he's going to gain more down here than he even will in like Harris, than he will in Tarrant and Collins. So definitely you're going to see a large shift in the state of Texas. The white vote is kind of shifting to the right, but trends left. But you have a huge Hispanic shift, and Biden is deeply unpopular, so that's going to put Trump in a good spot to win. South Carolina, another state with a large black population that kind of leans Republican to an extent, but in my forecast, it's a 23-point victory. So it does actually kind of trend to the right just by about half a point. Florida is going to be completely safe Republican in this scenario. It was only a 3.4 percentage point win last time, but if you actually look at the data, you will actually see that right now there is a large Hispanic population in places like Miami-Dade, and you're going to see those trend hard to the right. Donald Trump makes the most gains with Hispanic voters, and so that's definitely going to cause the state to shift quite a bit. Donald Trump will get around basically 5.8 million votes. Biden's going to get around 4 million, and you see Trump wins it by about 17 points. Iowa and Ohio, these states have been trending to the right for quite some time. You're going to see those states, Ohio 19-point victory here. Iowa, 18 points. Even if you look at the latest polling data, you'll actually see that these states, Trump's leading there by about 10, and the polling errors tend to be around 6 to 8 points in favor of Biden. So when you apply those errors, Donald Trump would be winning the states by around 16 to 18 points. So roughly speaking, these margins are pretty realistic in these states based off of polling data. Essentially, the East Coast is going to be, severely Democrat. Vermont still is going to be a good win for Biden, 24 points. We look Massachusetts, 23. Maryland is actually kind of under 20 points, surprisingly. And if we look at California, it's around a 15-point win. We also see the District of Columbia is going to be a 72-point win. Maine's first is actually a likely district now. It's not even in the safe category anymore. So Biden is losing some safe electoral votes. He actually only ends up with 81 safe electoral college votes now. So that is a bad sign for him. If we look at the competitive states, Wisconsin is a state that went to Biden. He won it by half a point, but there's a lot of room for Trump to grow in some of these rural counties. You do have Donald Trump basically tied in the polls here. And the problem with, Joe Biden only being tied is that he was leading by 8 and he only ended up winning by half a point. And if you look at the latest polling from New York Times / Siena College, what they did is they basically asked the voters, okay, since you have Wisconsin tied, who'd you vote for last time? And it shows Biden +7, which indicates that the pollsters haven't necessarily fixed their methodology really at all. They did that for Michigan, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia, and Arizona, including Nevada. So that's the sign that they necessarily really haven't fixed their polling data as of right now. Michigan, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia, Arizona, Nevada, as well as Nebraska second, are all over 5-point victories. Michigan, in my forecast, is an 8.5 percentage point win. Nebraska second is a 7-point victory. Pennsylvania, a 9-point win as of right now. North Carolina, 13 points. And if we look at, a state like Georgia, it's 10.6. Arizona, 9.6. So that's roughly where we're at. Here, Donald Trump already wins the election with 312 electoral college votes. We see New York is going to be a likely state for Joe Biden. We see he's only winning it by about 9.4 percentage points, which is around where polling has it right now. Connecticut, Delaware, and Rhode Island are states that Biden will more than likely win by over 5 points. We see here Connecticut's a 9-point win, Delaware a 6-point victory. We go down here, we'll see Rhode Island at about a 9-point win, so that's not very surprising there per se. And now we're going to be getting down to the lean states for both candidates. Maine second, I forgot to classify as safe. Notice with just the likely and safe states, Biden's only at 148 electoral college votes. Colorado, Illinois, and New Jersey are all listed as lean states on this map. We actually go to Colorado. You'll see it's a 3.6 percentage point win. Illinois 4.2. Maine at large is actually going to be lean Democrat. I'm going to explain why. And New Jersey would end up being a 3.3 percentage point victory for Biden, according to my forecast. Now, the reason why you see such huge shifts from 2020, like Colorado, if you look at it, was a 13.8 percentage point victory for Biden. Biden won Illinois by 17. And you look over here, New Jersey was a 16.4 percentage point win. So you see these really big shifts here. And you're like, okay, why is Biden winning these by such really close margins? These states all have large African American populations. They have a lot of transplant Hispanic populations. And the white vote is still shifting to the right regardless. So when you have populations like those, especially in Illinois, where you have a big city there, when you have these big population shifts, you're going to see large gains for Republicans in these states when you shift those demographics by quite a large amount. And now with New Mexico, Minnesota, Virginia, and New Hampshire, these are all going to be lean Republican states. New Mexico is actually forecasted, believe it or not, as a 4.3 percentage point win for Donald Trump, which sounds crazy. The polling's not even close to this. This could definitely be a little bit closer, but the reason why Trump is winning it by so much is because of the Hispanic vote. Donald Trump really has made gains with the Hispanic vote nationwide. I'm talking about Biden winning it by over, 25 points to now basically getting it under 10. So if Biden is really underperforming with Hispanics by that much, New Mexico has the largest Hispanic population in the entire country, and that's why you would see the state of New Mexico potentially go for Donald Trump by a somewhat comfortable margin compared to last cycle, where Biden was actually able to win it by around 11 points. And so when you look at Virginia, this is a state that Biden was able to win pretty comfortably as well. And what's quite interesting about the state here, this was pretty interesting. When you look at the state, it's around a 2-point win, and the polling aggregate has it as a tie, and the polling error here was around 2.4 percentage points in favor of Biden. So if you were to apply that, you would get a 2.4 Trump victory. Right now, it's listed as a 1.8 percentage point win. So even polling error misses kind of align what's going on. Same thing in New Hampshire. He leads by 2.2% in the state. And what's quite interesting about this is that he gets around 360,000 votes. Biden gets around 340,000. And since he's leading in the state of New Hampshire by about 2, what's quite interesting is that the polling aggregate has Biden ahead by around 2.5, maybe 3 points, depending on what aggregate you look at. And the polling error here was around 4 to 5 points in favor of Biden. So if you were to apply that, you get a very similar victory here. Same thing in Minnesota. The polling's tied. The polling miss here was around 2 points. Now, my margin of victory in Minnesota is 3.1, so it is a little bit greater than what that polling error would suggest. However, we do see at Israel Hamas, that coalition is really falling apart for the Democrats, and that's why states like Minnesota, Virginia, New Hampshire, New York, the polling may be worse for Democrats there because that might be reflected in polling data. And my polling data averages do take an account into what the final results end up being. Like if you look at Arizona, if Biden were to be leading by 5 in the polls, the state would actually go down a little bit for him. And so that's essentially what we're looking at right now in terms of the final margins for this election cycle. Donald Trump wins 345 electoral college votes to Joe Biden's 193 as of right now. If you guys did enjoy this video, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, make sure to go ahead and follow the Twitter and join the Discord server in the description down below. And I will see you guys very, very soon.